Hey guys, in this video we're taking a look at our unit on circles, lesson 2, Inscribe and Circumscribe circles tutorial. We're looking at slide 18 for lesson activity. It's number 3 where they're asking us to do a quadrilateral inscribed inside a circle. So we go down to our activity. They want us to study 4 intersecting chords of a circle to see what relationships exist between them. So they're going to want us to use a quadrilateral inscribed inside a circle. So we're going to use their setup that they've got going. And notice they already give us a point A and a point Z on here. So if we're looking, construct a circle with center A that passes through point Z. So I'm going to do a circle with center through a point. So there's my center A going through point Z there. And then it says create 4 points B, C, D, and E spaced apart on the circle. And it doesn't say how spaced, it just says spaced. So there's my B, C, D, and E on my circle. And it says place them clockwise, alphabetical order, whichever locations you choose. And that's what I did, B, C, D, and E. And then what can we say about those points B, C, D, and E with regard to the circle? So I'm going to go ahead and let you think about that one. Pause the video if you need to. Think about that one, answer that question, and then type it in there. And then taking a look at question 2, on the circle that we created for question 1, they want us to draw chords BC, CD, DE, and EB. So basically connecting those points that we put on our circle. So we want to draw a segment or a part of a line. So go to our line tool and we do segment B, C, C, D, D, E, and EB. Just going back and check and make sure. Yeah, that's what they asked us to do. And that says this construction gives us a quadrilateral inscribed in circle A. They want us to label the measures of the interior angles, angle B, angle C, angle D for quadrilateral BCDE. So they want us to label the measures of those angles. So this is our measurement tool. And if we pick, we want to do angle. I think you've got to do this in a certain order to get it to go on the inside. I think it's a clockwise. Yeah, it's a clockwise. So there's our angle there. And then I'm going to do the same thing for all 4. And just make sure I keep going the same direction. Because if you go the opposite direction, it's going to give you, like I'll show you, if you go the opposite way this way, it's going to give you the outside angle. It's just the way that guys works. If you accidentally do that, don't sweat it. Just click back and then make sure you go in a clockwise direction. So I don't like my angles on the outside. It makes it hard for me to read, so I'm going to scooch them over on the inside so they're really easy for me to read. And then for the purposes of this activity, it's going to be hard having those decimals. So I'm going to go over here to my menu and go down to settings. And for rounding, I don't want to do 2 decimal places. I want 0 decimal places. It'll make our lives easier in the long run if we just do no decimal spots. All right, so there we go. If you want to scooch a little more, scooch away. And so next, let's take a look at and see what they want us to do. So we got those interior angles measured, and then now construct the central angles. Remember, central angles are those angles that go from the outside of a circle, so the sides of the angles touch the outside and the vertex touches the center. So they want us to create those 4 central angles by drawing 4 radii on the circle. So radii are segments. So there's my segments there. And then measure, label and measure each central angle. When you're through, consider hiding the radios so you can get a clear picture of the angles you've created. Careful not to delete anything. Okay, so they want us to measure these angles and see what's going on for those. All right, so I measure angle tool, and they like us to go clockwise. Nope, didn't go clockwise. Okay, there's that one, and there's its measure. Huh. These guys are having us go kind of clockwise. Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to scooch these guys around a little bit. I probably should have done this as I was making them, but you live, you learn. There we go. And if you're looking at all these little letters that it's got going on, those are Greek letters. You don't need to know that for this lesson, and it doesn't change anything, but just in case you were wondering, that's what those are. Okay, so we got those labeled, and then it said to hide these guys. So I'm going to click, and it says segment M, and it's segment from A to E. I'm going to click on the show object so that it hides. Whenever you unclick to uncheck that box, that hides it. So there we go. And it hiding all those. Okay, so there we go. We've got all of our angle measures, both the ones in our inscribed quadrilateral and our central angles that we have going on there. And then it says take a screenshot of the result, paste it below. You've seen me do that a couple of times. I'm going to do it one more time, and then I think we'll call it good. So just a friendly reminder, I like to use that snip tool that they have in Windows. If you do a screenshot, you can just do a screenshot. Just make sure you either save it to your desktop, or I think on your Chromebooks, it saves them in your download file. So go look in your download file whenever you go to do this part of it right here where you do insert image. Check your download and see if it's in there. So whereas I go to desktop and I look at my desktop things, check your download file and see if they're in there. So open. There we go. So click submit, and looks good. Looks like they've got other things. And they labeled the sides. I'm not going to have you do anything with the sides for this one. We're going to focus on the angles. So we're going to skip the measure the sides part. All right. So now it says this is where not having decimal spots is going to pay off. So now move the points C, D, and E on the circle and note the interior angle measures for the quadrilateral in the table below. But make sure whenever you're doing those angles, you've got to set the measure of angle B first. So it's predetermined, so we've got to set that first. So here they say the measure of angle B is going to be 45 degrees. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to play with my points till I can get that to read 45. So you can see if we hadn't changed these to whole numbers and they were decimals, this would not be fun. So I've got that is 45. So my angle B is 45. So it just wants to know what the rest of them are. And I'm going to stick with reading and focusing on the points that they give there. So if I go, we're looking for the measure of angle C. That's going to be 97. The measure of angle D is 135. And the measure of angle E is 83. And then they want you to go through here and to find some sums. So they want you to do and I'm not worried about the degree symbol. If you were, don't worry about putting that in there. So we're looking at B plus C. So you can use the calculator function that it has here and go 45 plus 97. That's going to give us 142. So I'm going to enter that in the box. And then D plus E. So 135 plus 83. And that's going to give us 218. And then measure of angle B plus the measure of angle D. So 45 plus 135, it's 180. And then C plus E, 97 plus 83. And that's going to be 180. So I'm going to let you go ahead and go through and play with the rest of them. Don't forget to reset angle B. So to get you started on that one, I would just scooch these guys till that, and you could move one, you could move both of them until it says 60, and then record those angle measurements right there. And just go through and do all of those. And then going through and looking at the measures of the inside angles, you do the same thing. You could probably do it as you go along and do this. So I'm going to go put it back. I'm going to go put this back to 45 and just do it along and along. So 83.97. Do those still match? Yeah, sure do. So that you don't have to do double duty and move things back and forth. At the same time, I'm going to record CAB is 124. And then BAC, that central angle is 43 degrees. And then EAD, that central angle is 47. And then BAE, that one is 147. So just like they did with those angles that are in our quadrilateral, they had us add those values together. They're going to ask you to do the same thing here. So CAB plus DAC, 124 plus 43 gives you 167. And then EAD plus BAE, so 47 plus 147 is 194. And then CAB 124 is 47 is 171. And then BAC plus BAE 43 plus 147. This 180. So like I said, I want you to go through, finish filling out the table for the different values. So like whenever you set this guy to 60, there you go. Go through, record what all four of those angles are, and then also at the same exact time be recording what those interior angles are for those, or sorry, central angles are for those. And so then for question 4, based on what we figured out and what we wrote down in question 3, so once you get this table all filled out with all of your numbers, what relationships do you see between the pairs of angles for your quadrilateral? So for each of these, it's kind of got its own bullet point. So consecutive interior angles in your quadrilateral. So remember that consecutive means one angle after the other inside the quadrilateral. So if I'm looking at the picture that, I know this is their picture, but if we look at the picture that we do, like, is there any relationship between those two angles right there? Is there any relationship between those two? And is there the same relationship? So if we're looking at our table, so measure angle B plus the measure of angle C and then D and E, these are our, nice, these are our consecutive angles that we've got. So is there any relationship? And you're going to have to use the data that you have all the way through the chart to see if there really is any relationship there. So then looking at the next part of the question, so here you'll either say yes or no, and then it wants an explain. So after that you would do yes or no because, whatever you have to put there. And then the next bullet point it has there is opposite interior angles. So looking at our opposite interior angles of our quadrilateral, looking back at the picture, and then looking back at the table, these are our opposite interior angles of our quadrilateral, and then we're going to have to have the rest of the table that filled out to know, but what relationship is there? Can you find a relationship? So this is another yes or no, because that kind of a thing. And you can use what you see happening in your data that you have up in your table as a good reason for your because. And so then you'll do the same thing for your adjacent central angles. It's another yes, no, because, there we go. it's another yes, no, because for your adjacent central angles. Remember, adjacent means right next to each other. So looking at these two angles, is there any relationship right there? So if you're looking, that's going to be, these two columns are going to be adjacent angles and adjacent angle data. And then for the last one, they've got opposite central angles. Angles that are opposite of each other. Another good word for that would be vertical. So looking at CAB and EAD, those are going to be, just double check, CAB and DAE. Yep, sure are. Those are opposite angles. Oh, they're not vertical. Oh, they are not vertical because they are not straight lines, but they are opposite because they only share a vertex. Okay, my bad. So just a yes or no, and because whatever reason you have for that. And then once you get that done, go ahead and click the submit button. And then moving down to question 5, I'm going to go ahead and let you skip those. It's question 5 and question 6. There ends up not being any type of relationship at all. So I'm not going to have you take time to go ahead and set those up and do those. But I do want you to go ahead and just real quick do that self-evaluation. Just how do you do in your scale rating, and a brief evaluation of how you did, and then something that you learned and something that challenged you. So that will do our third lesson activity for our quadrilateral inscribed inside a circle. If you've got any questions, let me know. Bye.